Hello everyone, this is Gian. I'm back with another video. I hope everybody's been well. I think it's been about a week or so since I've made a video. I've just been very busy. There's so much to talk about, so little time to do it in. But I wanted to discuss this letter I actually received from the New York City Housing Authority. For those who don't live in New York City or are not familiar with it, the New York City Housing Authority is government subsidized housing. In other words, it's the ghetto. Yes, I live in the ghetto. I live in the ghetto. I work too damn hard to be so poor. But anyway, I got this letter. I actually went out this morning, about a half hour or so ago. It's a little after 8:30. As you can see, I'm still very tired. But about a half hour ago, it's about 8 o'clock, I go and I check the mail and I get this letter. Now, obviously, name and address has been redacted for, of course, my own personal privacy and safety. Not that the contents of the letter, which I have the original one here, which I'll be reading from, actually cares about my personal privacy. But here's what it says. I know this is a bit blurry. It's not exactly the best screenshot. I apologize. But here's what the actual letter says. Right? So it says, "Dear resident, NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority, is working with a COVID-19 vaccine provider to help eligible residents schedule vaccine appointments. To facilitate the vaccine outreach program, we have shared your first and last name, address, telephone number, and your email address, where applicable, with the New York City Test and Trace Corps, or CORE. The Corps is a group of doctors, public health professionals, and community advocates working to reverse the COVID-19 outbreak and protect our city. We have entered into an agreement with New York City Test and Trace Corps to ensure your information will be kept confidential, used for the purpose of this outreach only, and will be deleted or returned to NYCHA at the end of the program. A member of the NYC Test and Trace Corps may contact you in the near future. Your participation is optional and does not affect your tenancy. If you have any questions," and then it says, "please contact," and it gives this particular email address, and then it says, "Sincerely, Greg Russ, Chair and Chief Executive Officer." Those that don't know, he's the newest person to take over the New York City Housing Authority. It's had several heads over the past few years, and each one of them tends to leave under controversy. The last one, I believe her name was Shola Olatoye. She had actually been appointed by de Blasio, and then she was found to not be completely honest about, the whole lead issue in public housing and whatnot, and signing off on documents. I have a long and storied history, me and my family, with NYCHA. I don't like living in NYCHA. I don't like NYCHA as an organization. But here's the thing. I could go on and on about my issues with NYCHA, and in particular with certain people in NYCHA. I've been here a real long time, right? I know how shady they are, and that's why I'm making this video. I have been around long enough to know, and I've been on the internet long enough to know, that there's no way in hell that they are going to, as this says here, keep the information, right? Name, and not just my name personally, right? Because again, I live with an ill family member. So that person's name, my name, our address, my email address, right? My personal email address, right? Because my family member doesn't use computers, hardly understands how to use YouTube on a smartphone. So they are not technically savvy, but still using our information, right? And they've entered into an agreement, so they don't even give you the option of opting out. They don't even tell you that they're doing this. They do this, right? And then they tell you that they've done it, right? This is peak. It's better to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. Here's the thing. I give neither in this particular instance. NYCHA does not have my permission. Not that it matters to them, because if they wanted my permission, they would have asked. But NYCHA, for whatever it is worth, you do not have my permission or my forgiveness. The least you could have done, Chairman Russ, Chief Executive Russ, the least you could have done was let people know. You could have sent an email. You could have said something. You could have sent a letter saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this, sharing your information. You have the option to opt out, right, if you want to. Okay? You should have at least given residents, the same people who pay your high ass rents for shoddy living conditions and terrible service all across the board. Again, I have stories, I have documentation, I've worked with attorneys, I know what to do and what to say. Right? But at the very least, you could have given us, the option of opting out. Right now, of course, let's be honest. Even if you have opted out, been given the option to opt out, they would still sell your information or share your information anyway. Because let's be honest, it's the city. The city doesn't actually give a damn about what you think. But still, it would have been nice to at least have the illusion of choice in this case. I am not comfortable with the idea of being notified after the fact, NYCHA, that you have shared my information and the information of those in my home, right, who live with me, or rather, I live with them, technically speaking, with the New York City Test and Trace Corps. And now someone from there is going to come visit us. And you say, for now, because I don't trust you worth a damn, NYCHA. You say, for now, that participation is optional and doesn't affect tenancy. Yeah. Yeah, you say that now. Let's see how things are in a year or two or five. Okay? In my opinion, and maybe it's one of those things where legally they have the right, but in my opinion, from a moral standard, as someone directly impacted by what they're doing, um, yeah, to me, for whatever it's worth, to me, this is government overreach. This is not outreach. This is not letting us know what we can do. I get the notifications like everyone else that pretty much anybody over who is 16 and older can get vaccinated now. Now look, when it comes to vaccination and the vaccines, I am not an anti-vaxxer, but I do have my concerns about the vaccines. In particular, the fact that they're emergency use approval, not standard approval, meaning that the testing trials are pretty much happening at the same time of it being used. In from what I understand of it, it hasn't gone through standard approvals. We're pretty much being used as guinea pigs, in my personal opinion. And for example, blood clots run in my family, blood issues in general run in my family, and of course the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was stated recently to cause blood clots in some people. So stuff like that makes me a bit hesitant because if you because I personally believe that there are issues that they're not telling us about the other two vaccines, the Moderna and the Pfizer. And even if it's not blood related, it's something else, right? We are just learning as people take this, right, about the positives and the negatives of the vaccine. And now look, if you decide to get the vaccine, that's your choice, and I respect and support your choice, even if it's not necessarily the choice I would make. I personally, uh, at least I plan to not take the vaccine anytime soon until I have more faith in it, until I have confirmation that this thing is not going to cause a severe reaction in me. Okay? Again, not an anti-vaxxer. I've taken measles, mumps, and rubella. I got my shots when I was a kid. I used to get the flu vaccine all the time. Right? I generally try to stay healthy enough to not need stuff like that. Right? But again, I've gotten shots before for various things. It's just that in this one, given again just so much surrounding it, so many questions, so many alternate takes, all right, right, and all stuff. And again, in this case, the blood clots, and just sort of seeing how things play out positively and negatively at this time. I at present am not comfortable with taking it yet. I think there are just too many unknowns, and I don't want to put myself at risk. Right, be one of those things where it's like what's going to kill you faster, right, the illness or the cure. And again, that's just my feeling, my perception of it. Yours may be different, and if it is, that's totally fine. We don't have to see eye to eye on it. If you want to get it, or if you have gotten it, good for you. I'm personally waiting until I feel a bit safer, until some of the questions I have, especially as regards how it affects blood and blood clots, um, is answered. But I am not comfortable with the idea of a city agency just giving away my information for supposedly my own good, right? And let's be honest, we've all seen breaches, data breaches and all that from major companies such as various banks and all that other stuff. So, like I said earlier, I don't believe them for a second when they say that the purpose for the outreach only. Sure, it is, and that it will be kept confidential and will be deleted or returned to NYCHA at the end of the program. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me, Mr. Russ. Don't lie to me, NYCHA. Okay, you've already, in my personal opinion, overstepped your bounds by giving away my information to this organization without even telling me, right? And now you want to say, "Oh, we're only doing it temporarily." Yeah, sure. That's what they used to say about tolls on bridges too. We're only doing it temporarily just to pay off the bridge. You won't be paying these tolls forever. And now look, nearly every bridge, I think except for the Queensboro Bridge, has a toll on it, right? I don't trust you, NYCHA. I don't trust you, and I don't believe you. And perhaps there's nothing I can do to stop you, legally speaking. But I can sure as hell, at the very least, uh, let people know. So this is what's happening in the New York City Housing Authority. They are giving away your information to the New York City Test and Trace Corps, supposedly for your own good. And they say for now that it does not affect your tenancy and that participation, aka getting the vac, right, is optional, right? It's always optional until it's not. It doesn't affect your tenancy until it does. Your information is kept confidential and will only be used for the most honorable of purposes until it's not. Right? I've said it before and I've said it again. And I'll say it again. Politicians, and I think that's the biggest problem with COVID, is less the illness itself and more the way politicians have responded to it. Politicians, in my personal opinion, regardless of their political party, regardless of whatever promises they make, regardless of which country they are in or from, are oppressors, right? They can they can easily enforce and protect your rights, and they can just as quickly, just like that, take them away and violate your rights. And in this case, in my opinion, NYCHA is acting even more like a elected oppressor than they normally do, because they're violating my right to knowledge and notification of how my information is being used and shared, violating my information privacy, right? By telling me after the fact, not notifying me beforehand, because if they did notify us beforehand, it would say in the letter that, hey, we sent this and you didn't respond, and so we're doing that. But they're not doing that. They're not making that statement. They shared information, and now they're only telling us. So it makes you wonder how many more things, right, are they, or how many more organizations are they sharing residents' names, email addresses, telephone numbers, addresses, right? Basically, contact info. Are they sharing with people and not telling us, right? Because for all the things they notify us of, either prior or after, what about all the stuff they don't tell us, right? But this is life in a big liberal city that's supposed to have your rights and your safety at heart. Right? There's an old saying, right, that those who would trade liberty for security um, deserve neither and will lose both. And sadly, I think that this is one piece of proof of many that that is what's happening or has been happening in New York City, right? And it impacts not just the major bigwigs like Cuomo, who killed people in nursing homes with his decisions. Doesn't just impact de Blasio, doesn't just impact the big names, it impacts regular Joes and Janes like myself, who hate politics like the plague, who avoid it like the plague, and yet the fallout, the decisions that these people make, we are the ones. I am the one. You are the one impacted by it. And that is one of many reasons why, regardless of what they promise, regardless of what party they are from, I can't stand politicians. NYCHA doesn't have the best interests of me and my family at heart. They have the best interests of the city and themselves at heart. And I personally, it just makes me sick. Nothing I can do about it but complain. But for what it's worth, again, makes me sick. And NYCHA does not have my permission, and they sure as hell don't have my forgiveness. So anyway, that's the video. I've got to get to work. So I will see you all the next one. Have a good day and night wherever you are. Bye.